Hi everyone, Liz here from ATTAIN, and today I'm going to be showing you how to properly prep your natural nail for gel application. We're also going to get rid of a lot of bad habits and a lot of bad education that is out there, and we're going to go over how to do this the right way so that you get maximum results. You'll notice that I am wearing gloves today, and this is because I have a video coming up for our next episode that I don't want to give away just yet. And so I'm going to cover everything except for this one finger that we're going to be working on. Now, I wanted to start by going over the tools that I have on my table and how I usually set myself up for success. I like to organize my work area. So no matter what type of table situation you're working at, I like to roll out my ATTAIN mat to protect my surfaces. That way, if I accidentally spill some acetone or some alcohol, it's not going to ruin any of my furniture. And this mat has a little lip on it, so it keeps spills contained within the mat area. It also really helps to attract dust, and it gives you a nice grippy surface to put your tools on so they don't roll away from you or get all over the place. Now, first, we're going to need a cuticle pusher. So I have the ATTAIN cuticle pusher here. We're going to potentially need some nippers. I have some clean wipes, and I have a buffer, which I'll talk about in just a second. I have our ATTAIN removal file, which is 80-100 grit, and I also have our metal nail file because I'm going to be showing you guys how to use either one of those. And then off camera, I have some ATTAIN Clean, and we are ready to go. I'm using a black background today because it makes it a lot easier for you to see what I'm doing with that contrast. And I also wanted to tell you that I have not touched this nail at all since we did the removal episode several weeks ago. So this is a completely virgin nail that has gone through daily life, regrowth. It has dry skin. It has a little bit of hangnails on here. And you'll see even that I've got a little bit of dryness on the free edge. I do moisturize my nails, but I wanted to keep this video extremely realistic because I often find that a lot of tutorials over glamorize what nails are supposed to look like. And this is honestly what my nail looks like if I just leave it alone. So you can see it's grown out really, really well. I have natural ridges in it again, and our nails can definitely recuperate with some time. I also wanted to show you one thing that a lot of you may experience as you let your damaged nails regrow is that you may also have areas where you see little dips in your nail or maybe ripples, things like that. Maybe your free edge curls up a little bit. Those are usually signs of areas where you over-filed the nail in a given area, so it's a little bit thinner in that area of the nail plate. And dryness can also cause your free edge to curl, to flip, to do all different kinds of things, including just day-to-day impacts that we put ourselves through. So this is a real nail, and I'm going to show you how to really prep this for best results. Before we start doing anything related to nails, it's a good idea to wash your hands and scrub your nails before we do any removal or product application or prep work. That helps to remove surface bacteria from your skin, also gets rid of any yeast in the area. It helps to make sure that we're also not pushing oils into our nail plate as we prep them. So I like to wash my hands with nice warm water and some soap. I usually like to use soap that strips oils, like maybe just a tiny dot of dish soap, dial soap, something like that, that really helps to clean off surface bacteria and oils. I also usually will scrub around my nail with a nail brush and get everything nice and clean. No soaking of nails before gel application. I do not want any of you to be soaking your nails in water prior to applying any type of artificial nail product, including gels, acrylics, polygels, anything like that. Even nail polish, realistically, you should not be soaking your nails in water. Nails are like sponges. They absorb water, and we do not want water inside of our nail plate before we put product on top of it, because as that water tries to evaporate out of our nail plate, it's going to lead to premature lifting, chipping, and peeling. It also makes our nail plate shrink and swell. We don't want that type of change in our nail plate while we're applying product on top of it. And in general, the more you soak your nails in water, the less your product is going to last. After you've washed your hands with soap and water and you've let them dry, I like to start by actually using some ATTAIN Clean to dehydrate the nail plate. As you can see, my nail plate has some natural oils in it. You can tell that from the shine. So I want to remove any residual surface oils with ATTAIN Clean, which has a little bit of acetone in the mix. It helps to strip any residual oil, and that way we're not going to inadvertently push those oils into the nail plate as we're prepping our nail plate with our nail file. So you can see that really helps to kind of mat out the surface of my nail plate and get rid of any of those oils or even bacteria. Then I'm going to go in with my cuticle pusher because I want to actually push back this proximal nail fold. You can see I have cuticle, which is that dried white gunk on my nail plate, and a little bit of cuticle here, this white line in front. That is dried cuticle. And I also have my proximal nail fold, which is right through here. I'm going to try and carefully point to it. It almost looks semi-translucent skin, and it's extremely thin. If I turn my finger to the side, you can see it a little bit better. So I have this kind of yellowy, milky skin right here. That is my proximal nail fold. It's part of my living skin, but because I haven't manicured my nail in a long time, it has grown out onto the nail plate, and so it's become stretched. Behind that, you'll see that I've got more pinky skin. My hands are extremely pink. I'm a pink person, and so oftentimes I will immediately see the redness and pinkness of my skin right after my proximal nail fold, and your skin might be similar no matter what your skin tone is. So I want to start by gently pushing back that proximal nail fold because I want to expose the maximum amount of nail plate possible, even before we get into filing or shaping or anything. Now, this part is important because we want to only gently push back the skin. We don't want to go up onto the skin and be pushing into our matrix area where it's underneath this tissue. So we want to keep our cuticle pusher nice and secure on the nail plate, but using slow, gentle pressure to kind of release that stretched proximal nail fold. Just do it gradually with slight little pushes like that. I just wanted to show you the angle, okay? So this is not a quick jabbing motion. It's a slow, methodical, purposeful, gentle pushing to help release that skin from the nail plate and gently push it back. Nice and slow. And depending on how sticky your skin is, how well adhered it is to the nail plate, just take it nice and slow. Make sure that you're using that edge of your cuticle pusher and just pushing straight back. We're not digging into the nail plate and we're not up on the skin. We just want to get right up in front of the skin and gently push it back. You can also use the blade side of the cuticle pusher if you would like to. You can use the flat part to kind of just gently push this back. If you're having a little bit of a hard time with the spoon side, you can push that skin away. And it also helps you to release a little bit of that dried cuticle gunk that's on the nail plate. So I can just go along here gently, very, very gently with very little pressure. I can loosen some of that dried cuticle material that's on the nail plate, okay? So now you're able to actually see my proximal nail fold, that stretched proximal nail fold. You can see it's kind of like a yellowy white color. That tissue is the tissue that is technically living. However, a lot of us are going to have situations where this flap of skin is so stretched that it's very difficult to leave it alone. So I am going to show you guys how much of this skin that I would personally trim off, and be careful about not trimming too much as we don't want to disturb living tissue. We also don't want to create wounds or injuries, and we also don't want our skin to overgrow or become calloused. So we need to be careful about that. Some other considerations when we're talking about using our cuticle pusher is in these corners of our nail plate, we want to make sure that we kind of mimic the shape of what we are trying to go for. So your nail plate and your nail bed area may be more of a square shape. It may be more rounded or more V-shaped when you get to your cuticle area. So always kind of press and push back to kind of mimic the same shape and gently push everything back. I don't want you to force the skin. I don't want you to separate the skin or tear the skin. And we also want to be careful about not causing tears or separation up under here, which can lead to very painful separation, much like our hyponychium. And we also don't want to have any pockets where we can potentially get dirt, debris, or bacteria in there that may cause an infection. So everything about nail prep is very slow, very careful, very gentle, and very methodical. I can also use my blade side of my cuticle pusher to go in and just gently clean off any dried debris that may be on the sides of my finger, and we'll get the rest of it with our abrasive. So that should be basically what your nail looks like after you're done releasing the skin and starting to loosen up that dried cuticle material. Next, we are going to remove the shine of our nail, and we are also going to create texture on the upper surface of our nail plate. Many people confuse shine removal with etching the nail plate. And gels, especially gels like ATTAIN that do not rely on monomers to create instant gratification stick, we need to actually create a slight amount of texture on our nail plate to allow the gel to adhere to something. If our nail is smooth, but the shine is removed, the gel still doesn't have anything to grip to. That is why I do not recommend using a buffer to prep your nail. Buffers are wonderful tools and they help us smooth surfaces and do all kinds of stuff, but at the same time, buffers are only going to remove shine. They aren't going to create the texture that our nail needs in order for the gel to stick. So I'm not going to use my buffer. Instead, I'm going to use my ATTAIN removal file. You can also use the metal file if you would like to use the metal file. So what we want to do is we want to remove the shine and create a little bit of texture on the upper surface of our nail plate. So I'm going to take my nail file and I'm going to hold it like this, underhanded, with this oval area pointing towards my finger. And I'm going to use just gentle circular motions. I can push up into my cuticle area to get all of that dirt and debris out of there, all the cuticle out of there. Make sure you go down into the sidewalls. And all I'm doing is kind of scratching up the very, very, very surface of my nail. Very lightly, but I am removing the shine and I'm creating a slightly gritty texture, okay? So I'm not removing a bunch of nail plate. I'm just scratching up the upper surface of it. And the goal here is that if we do this, we're going to get much more longevity in our service. And when we get to talking about overlays and more long-term product wear, this process truly is usually only done once on any given area of our nail. So we're not doing this repeatedly. If you want your gel polish to last less time, let's say you want your gel polish to only last a weekend and then you're going to take it off, you can leave your nails smoother, but just keep in mind that you potentially will have your product peel completely off if you don't give the gel enough texture to grip to. If this video is already helping you, be sure to like and subscribe because this video is part of a larger series called How to Do Gel Nails at Home. You can start from the beginning at any time, and I recommend watching this series in order if you want the full foundation. And throughout the series, I'll occasionally drop some small knowledge check-ins and rewards for those of you that are truly paying attention. So keep watching. Okay, so I'm just going to gently dust off so you can see where we are now. So this is what an etched nail looks like. An etched nail means it has little scratchy marks in it. And again, I'm not taking off any layers of my nail plate. I'm just creating upper scratchiness so that the product has something to adhere to. And in 4K this close, it looks a lot more dramatic than it does in real life. But I want you guys to be able to see up close how we create that texture that our gel is going to adhere to, okay? Now, once you have this done, then we can talk about removing any of the excess stretched proximal nail fold that we need to remove in order to make this nice and clean. And we're also going to shape our nail slightly before we do our product application. With gel, I typically recommend dry manicuring. Dry manicuring means we are not using cuticle removers. We are not putting any type of product on our nail. We are just keeping the skin nice and dry. And what we want to do is, with a basic gel polish manicure, we want to push this skin back as much as possible because that's going to expose the maximum amount of nail plate, which as our nail grows, it's going to make our manicure last a lot longer. So this, I would say, is kind of a gray area when it comes to how much of this skin is to be removed. A lot of people will over trim all the way from this side, all the way along and down the other sidewall. But this white area here is actually not anything that should be nipped off. This is truly just dust and debris that's down in my sidewall and some dry skin. So don't get too aggressive with nippers because the more you trim off, it'll look nice and clean for the first day, but then your nail will actually start to look more dry, your skin will start to get more calloused, and you also don't want to create wounds and injuries. To make the removal of any type of area that we're going to nip off a little easier, I like to use the blade side of my cuticle pusher to kind of create almost like a lip where I'm pushing back and just very, very gently lifting that area if possible so that I can kind of see it and I can kind of get an idea of what I'm going to trim off. Then what I'll do is I'll take my cuticle nippers. So instead of trimming like this with your nippers down and your hand on top, what I want you to do is actually grab them from underneath and we're going to actually trim the skin this way. We want to actually cut the skin perpendicular. We don't want to overcut it. We don't want to undercut it. We want to cut any tissue like this as we go around so you get a nice straight cut. And that way we don't end up creating these kind of surface jagged lesions on top. So you want to get the corner of your blade right up underneath that first piece of skin. And you're going to trim, go down, and then while your nippers are still closed, you're going to go up and lift that piece and then slowly open the jaws and go a little bit further. So like here, trim, pull away, and then lift and open. So it's kind of this kind of movement like that. And as you go around the corner, you're going to turn your hand so that your blades are always at the same angle as your skin shape. Okay, so this is a big strip of skin that came off. So this is something that's a little bit controversial in the nail industry because a lot of people will say, oh my gosh, don't trim any skin. But if we leave that stretched proximal nail fold, it's also going to make our manicure look a little unclean and it's just going to be a little bit of an issue when it comes to application. So you don't want to draw blood. You don't want to be causing any damage or injuries to your finger, but we also do want to get rid of anything that's going to impact or impede our ability to apply product in the areas that we want. Now, one thing I do love to use my buffer for is I like to actually use my buffer to clean and smooth any dry skin that I have on the corners or the sides of my finger. What I'll do is I'll use this straight edge. I'll go on the skin instead of on the nail, and it'll actually allow me to kind of buff off any dry areas of my skin and smooth everything out. So you can even go right underneath the corner of your nail. If you have hardened corners on your skin, you can just gently buff and make that smooth, almost like you would on your feet with a pumice stone. So you can see I can kind of exfoliate off all that dry skin on the corner. You can also gently go up around this area of your skin if it's a little dry. Use the nice fine side of the buffer and you can just gently exfoliate any dry skin that you have up on your finger. You can go up around the corner. But again, remember, we don't want to be smoothing our nail plate, so keep that in mind. You just want to do skin exfoliation only. And we'll talk about when I use buffers on the nail, but I don't use them for nail prep, especially for this type of application. Okay, so now I have all my skin cleaned up. Everything's looking nice and soft and my nail plate is looking good. And now I'm going to actually file the shape of my nail. I like to use our metal nail file for this. I find it to be perfect because it's great for natural nail filing. It's nice and thin and it has no sharp edges. So I'm able to actually file the shape. I personally recommend rounding corners for the longest lasting nails. Square nails with really pointy corners, because corners tend to be really flexible, especially if we're doing a gel polish application. The more square your nails are, the more those corners are going to have wear and tear, and you're ultimately going to get lifting and peeling. So a nice rounded shape or a swivel shape is a great way to get longevity out of your service. A lot of people have been taught to only file from the outside into the center or in one direction across the entire free edge of the nail plate. However, when we get into wearing artificial product like gel polish, I have not found a major difference in the health of the natural nail or the longevity of the service. So if you see me sawing back and forth, that's because I'm used to that. And when I wear artificial product, I don't notice a huge difference in anything when I do it this way versus filing from the center out or the outside in or one direction across the free edge. But what I do find is that the shape overall makes a huge difference. So I'm just going to round out the corners and make kind of a nice natural shape. And I also like to check from this angle from far away just to make sure that everything looks nice and that I like the overall length. So I'm just going to fix this just a little bit here. We can also refine at the end of the application, but I like to shorten my nail and get a general shape so I'm not wasting product or applying product on a nail that I'm ultimately going to shorten down and remove. Okay. So last but not least, we're going to cleanse this nail really, really well before we go to apply product on top of it. So I'm going to take a nice clean nail wipe. I'm going to moisten it with ATTAIN Clean, about that much. And I'm going to really cleanse the sidewalls along that cuticle area. And I'm also going to cleanse underneath the free edge of my nail if I have one. So I kind of put my fingernail underneath there and I will cleanse underneath the free edge of my nail. You can also wrap your moistened nail wipe around the end of your cuticle pusher and you can use that to push back. Basically what I do is I kind of hold this on top so that it's on the spoon. And then I use that to kind of push up and into my sidewalls and get everything really nice and clean. And it also helps me push my skin back one more time. And then you can also do the same thing with the blade side. You can put that wipe with the cleanser underneath and clean underneath your free edge. Make sure there's no debris under there because those types of things, oils, anything like that, are going to change the way our product goes on. Okay? If you have any dry areas or white spots or anything like that, don't panic. Like you can see right here as the alcohol dries on this side of my finger. I have just a little bit of dry skin here. I don't want to try and nip that off because ultimately I'm going to end up creating a hole or digging into my tissue or also inadvertently like damaging my nail plate on the side. So don't worry about this kind of stuff because when we reintroduce moisture at the end of the manicure, everything is going to look gorgeous. But before we apply gel, we want to have that slightly scratched surface, especially around the free edge of our nail to make sure that that has something to grip to. And we want to make sure that the skin is pushed back nicely and that there's no debris on the actual nail plate itself. So we get a nice clean application. All right, there you have it. Now you know how to actually prep your natural nail to get maximum nail plate exposure as well as the most longevity out of any service that you apply. And in the next episode, I'm going to show you start to finish how we're going to apply ATTAIN Adhesion, Color, and ATTAIN Shine so that you can have beautiful gel manicures at home that last 4 weeks. See you guys next time. Bye.